as easily.
See, it's on now.
Now we're live.
Oh my god. Okay, so let's do this again. Hi, I'm Johnny Havoc, or you might know me as John McDonald from The Flyer.
Hi, I'm Rebecca. I'm also known as Newt.
Together, we're Simple Tricks and Nonsense, but we're here because we've been invited to talk about her.
Yep. Together, we made her back in 2016.
Yep. So, yeah, we're going to talk about that. We also, right off the bat, want to let you guys know if you can, you should donate to the Motion Picture and Television Fund. You should find a link in this chat here. I'll give you a reminder a little bit later on. Anyway, we haven't ever been to Monsterama, and we haven't done a virtual panel either.
Yeah, this is our first virtual Zoom meeting, so be gentle with us.
Yeah. As for Monsterama, the thing is, it always comes so close to Dragon Con, and the problem with that is we're usually both burnt out and poor because of Dragon Con.
Yeah.
So,
but if all goes well, the world doesn't explode by
2021
next year, I think we definitely need to bring her in person so that everybody can see her.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through the history of what it took to make her, and just talk about that process and what you had to do and the different ideas and what worked and what didn't work and all that stuff. So when did you start on it?
We started on her back in 2016, and she took us about, how long? We started her in May 2016, and then we finished her in August, so she took about 4 months to make.
Yeah. And that's not for every single day months. That's a little here, a little there. There was some weeks where it was pretty much something got done every single day.
Yeah.
But was that something that you wanted to work on before?
Oh yeah, God, yeah. It was a dream costume for both of us.
Yeah. Even
though we knew each other, but I didn't know he wanted to make it. He didn't know I wanted to make it. And so one day he just asked me, "What's your dream costume?" And I said, "I don't know if you know it, but it's the robot from Metropolis." And he was like, "Oh, that's what I want to make too."
Yeah, we called it we call those kind of costumes bucket list costumes.
Yeah.
Where you want to try to get it done before you kick the bucket type thing. But yeah, she's absolutely right. Before we started hanging out, that was on my list of things that I'd love to be a part of. Mm-hmm. And then when we started spending more time together, it's like, okay, well, we have the opportunity to try to tackle this.
Yeah.
So what did you start on first?
Well, obviously we started with the torso, because that's the biggest part, and so many other things rely on that being done first. You got to fit everything around that. So we bought a mannequin that was just a little bigger than me, because as you can see, you need the indentation in the stomach and everything, and I sculpted over top of that with clay to get the details and everything in it and make it not look human. And yeah, that's how I.
Do you have any pictures? Do you want to show a picture real quick?
Yeah, let's do pictures. I don't know if I have.
We're going to try this, guys. We have a bunch of stuff that we already have on here. We're going to try to find a picture early on, some of the tests.
Yeah.
Try one of those first ones right there. Try it once again. It's the Windows thing.
Yeah.
We'll see if this works. If not, we'll just have to talk through it.
Yeah. There we go.
There we go. Yep.
So that's it after it was vacuum formed. But I don't have any pictures of me sculpting the torso. But yeah, she was sculpted, and then we made covered her in fiberglass to make a buck for vacuum forming. And this is the vacuum formed version of that before she's all painted up.
Yeah, what do we want to show?
Do you want to show more pictures?
Yeah, if you want to. So she took a mannequin body, just the torso, because they sell front halves and back halves and whole upper bodies, full mannequins, almost anything you want to get. She bought just a mannequin torso, and we went ahead and chopped it down, and then decided where along the sideline or the seam we wanted to designate front half and back half, and then that plastic mannequin body then got chopped lengthwise that way. And then after that, like she said, she took what was it, Bondo? I think you used Bondo.
I used a ton of Bondo.
Yeah. So
and glazing putty.
So she cut out the details and used a whole bunch of Bondo, and then every day the most tedious part of making these types of costumes is just the sanding and sanding and sanding and filling and sanding, just day in and day out.
It's like non-stop sanding and filling just to get it so smooth and perfect.
Yeah. And then we had to determine how sharp to try to make things, because when you vacuum form stuff, it softens the edges.
Yeah, so you have to compensate. You have to make edges sharper than they actually would be, because things do get softened and rounded as you vacuum form them.
Or in some cases, when you look at it, you know that it's not going to get as sharp as you want. Then you decide, okay, well, I'm going to make a superficial part that's going to sit on top of my vacuum form, and I'll basically glue it or screw it or whatever I need to do, and then blend that so you get that nice sharp edge. And some of that happened with her too, because we weren't going to get the detail we wanted.
Yeah, now with our homemade vacuum form machine.
Yeah. We have a small vacuum form machine that we use in our kitchen oven, and that's good for, doing helmets and masks and stuff like that. But to do something torso sized, we had to make a freestanding one.
And we made it just big enough for my little torso.
Yeah, and we had to turn it at a slight angle to fit it on the bed and all that stuff. What was would you be able to make that costume out of other material like craft foam? Do you think you could do that?
I don't work that much with craft foam, as you know.
Well, I'm saying somebody
I've seen people vacuum form craft foam.
No, I'm saying not vacuum form it at all. I'm saying simply go straight to a one-off.
I've seen people do amazing things with craft foam, but I couldn't make it with craft foam. It's way easier for me to do the old-fashioned sculpt it, make a vacuum form.
Yeah. The thing I noticed with it is, yes, you can go straight to your finished product. You don't have to basically create an early version of it and then get a secondary version of it that you actually wear. With the craft foam or EVA foam, you would be able to go straight to it. But when it comes to compound curves, that's where things always get tricky. If it's like straight cuts, or if it's just you're just bending it around an arm or around a thigh or just around a shoulder, that's way simpler than getting these organic compound curves.
Yeah, well, remember when we tried to vacuum form the face?
Yep.
I had sculpted the face out of clay, just 100% out of clay. Then we did a mold of that, and then we cast that in ultracal, and then we tried to do a vacuum form version of that. But let me go this.
So yeah, that's all just using wet clay, the kind of clay you can buy at Hobby Lobby or a craft store. It's just it'll dry with the air. But in this case, you kept it wet. We had to keep it wet while you worked on it. And
up until we molded it, and then we did an ultracal, which is hard as stone. And then we tried to vacuum form that, but it did what is that called? Whenever it creates like
the webbing.
It webbed. So we ended up doing another mold out of silicone, right? Silicone, and then we slosh cast it in resin. So the finished head.
So we had two plans. We had a plan A, which was to make a vacuum form, which would be lightweight.
Yeah. So the finished head this is all resin.
That's resin.
Cast.
And then plan B was, if the vacuum form didn't work, then we would slosh cast it out of resin.
Right.
And in this case, all that fine definition was able to stay in there, as opposed to losing it from the vacuum form version.
Right.
What's our next slide?
Next slide. There you see me filling it with Bondo, like I said, or that's glazing putty. Just making everything smooth and perfect.
So hold on, in this photo that you're seeing here, you can see the back half of the shell. And in that case, since there wasn't a lot of undercuts and there wasn't a lot of detail back there, we were able to vacuum form that part of it.
Right.
So that's
right, because it's a clean circular shape.
Yep. And then the earpieces, that's where you get into the territory where you can kind of make one-offs of stuff, and that's stacked little pieces of expanded PVC sheet, just layered up to the right size, and then we can Dremel it down and do all that fun stuff with it to get it exactly how you want it. Yeah.
Sorry, all these pictures are small. They all came from my phone.
So the front half, back half of the head, all vacuum formed.
Yes.
And then what else is vacuum formed on her?
I think that was everything that was vacuum formed.
The calves and the feet.
Yes, the feet were vacuum formed. I forgot about that. The calves and the legs, those were, we just heated up the PVC and wrapped it around my legs and made them that way. Those weren't vacuum formed. And then all these little pieces you see on it.
Yeah, those
were all just added.
Yeah, those are all superficial parts.
And then these are sculpted on, all these circular details and everything.
So what she's saying is when it came to the biceps, the forearms, and the thighs, the nice thing is, since those are pretty cylindrical or conical in shape, and this is supposed to be a machine, that means you don't really need to go into coming up with a buck for vacuum forming or anything like that. You can sit there and you can basically just cut a piece of PVC pipe and then fit it around an arm or around a bicep, and then check the size. And then in some cases, like on the back side of her arms, there are little spacer pieces to allow enough room. And then since it's PVC pipe, it's plastic, you can take a heat gun and you can heat it up and you gently contort it or twist it so that it'll be, when you're looking down it, instead of being perfectly round, it's now more of an oval.
Yeah.
So then what else? What are some of the little bits and pieces, like the vents and the little seam line?
Those were thinner pieces of plastic that we literally heated up and curved on, and then we filled in all the gaps with glazing putty or Bondo. Again, endless sanding.
Endless sanding. So yeah, that when it came to the feet, we kind of cheated when it comes to feet.
With robot feet.
Yeah, especially with robot feet. I'm a big believer in, if you can make one of something and have it be universal, be able to use it for both sides or use it multiple times. Like, let's say you're making a helmet and you can make one earpiece and have left ear, right ear, that kind of thing. Or in the case of, like, for Star Wars, where in Empire Strikes Back, they're like, well, you know what? Instead of having a left and a right hand plate, let's make one universal hand plate, and that goes for both left and right. So with your feet, what did we do?
We got, what is the foam that we got? The floral foam?
It's called dry foam. It comes in green bricks. You'll see it in Michael's or craft stores and whatnot.
It's by the floral section because it's what you put flowers in.
Yep.
That's so easy to sculpt with. It's like if you sculpt like butter. And then once you get the shape that you want and the sculpture that you want, you can coat it in fiberglass resin. And that makes it hard as rock. And then you sand it. Again, filling it with Bondo, endless sanding, make sure it's perfect and smooth.
And then glazing putty, and then endless more sanding.
Endless more sanding.
Yep.
And that was our buck. And we made, vacuum formed it twice. And that gave us both feet because her feet aren't like...
A left and a right. You can't. There's little accent pieces on the side of them that makes it look like there's a left and there's a right.
Yeah.
But what she's talking about, that green foam, super cheap. You can buy it in big old bricks. Super easy to sculpt. You can use sandpaper. You can use anything harder than the foam will sculpt the foam. So a pencil, your fingernail, anything. But we have what's known as a rasp. It's good for shaving things down. and you take that and you just bulk shave and shave and shave and get all that stuff down to your general shape, and then you switch to sandpaper and stuff, right?
Yep.
So what else?
What else?
So we got all that.
Right.
What's the undersuit made out of?
The undersuit suit, I just bought a black morph suit.
Yeah, so it's just a
Yeah.
black unitard underneath.
And that was a creative liberty with that, because hers was actually like, in the pictures it looks like it's either flesh colored or she may not even be wearing something underneath it. But I didn't want you to see my flesh, so
well, you also gotta, I think in a black and white movie, you know, tones start to like that's already pretty close to a skin tone. So even if your skin was revealed underneath, you know, you wouldn't be able to tell. But in this case, and you know, walking around a convention, people will be able to tell if like, hey, that's your kneecap or that's your butt cheek or whatever.
Yeah.
So what else?
Well, speaking of creative liberty, I always hesitate using the word replica because Walter Schultz Middendorf, the man who designed and made the robot back in 1927, he literally made her on the spot. He had a plaster cast of Bridget Helm, the actress, and a box full of plastic wood, also known as wood putty. And he didn't do any previous sketches, any previous sculptures, nothing like that. He literally sculpted it on the spot. And after it was made, even, there was no copies of it made.
Yeah.
He was literally on the spot, spur of the moment, one-off thing. And then, of course, at the end of the movie, when you see the robot burning, it's the actual one-off suit burning.
Yep.
And it's the saddest scene in the movie to me.
I think.
But that's why it can't truly be replicated. Even when he himself tried to replicate it later on in the 70s, he couldn't remember. It didn't look the same as it did. And so you have to take a lot of creative liberties in any reincarnation of her, whether it be like a statue or a toy or a costume. They all look different.
Yeah. Well, that's a good thing and a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some people have looked at that and say the proportions are off from the movie.
Yeah.
And then of course your proportions
definitely
are going to be
differ
off.
if you're making it for a person, because I don't have a body like Bridget Helm. You know, we're different people, so the proportions are going to be a little different.
Yeah. If somebody were to make it for a 6 foot tall person, of course the proportions are going to look completely different than if it's for somebody who's under 5 feet tall.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm a little robot.
Well, I mean, when it comes to the destruction of it, I don't think they thought about preserving cinema.
No, that
props
was at
from
a time
cinema
where
the way.
There was at a time where they didn't think about preserving.
We're probably pretty lucky that dresses from Gone with the Wind got preserved, or the Ruby Slippers got preserved.
Right.
But that probably wasn't until the 30s or closer to the 40s that people considered, hey, we should probably hang on to this.
In the 20s.
Yeah, they're like.
I almost think they thought I don't even think they thought Metropolis would be remembered at all, let alone preserving.
Well, I mean, cinema was only how old? A couple decades old by that point.
Yeah.
Here's an art form that's only been around for maybe 20 plus years, and it's like, oh yeah, let's make this thing and then destroy it. Mm-hmm. So, anyway. Tangent. What else? What's your favorite part of the costume, or your favorite part of the costume that you got to work on?
Oh, the face. Definitely the face. It's such a distinct. Let me pull up some more pictures. It's such a distinct look.
Yeah.
It's hard to capture.
I like the two-tone eyes.
Yeah, I did that to make it stand out, and I actually found out that that's what they did in the movie. They painted her eyes white and her eyelids gray to stand out on film, and so I found that out after I did it. I was just playing with colors because again, creative liberty. The actual robot people think was a silvery bronze, and a lot of people think it's silver. But I love the movie poster, so I wanted to make it gold with touches of silver on it. But yeah, the face was my favorite thing to sculpt because I'm the happiest with how that turned out, and yeah, I really like that.
Also, you can see in this image up near the top of the head, uh, the four little things that kind of separate the face from the top of the head. Uh, those are actually little posts that we put in, and inside each of those posts is a rare earth magnet or a neodymium magnet.
Right, so the front of the face and the back of the head just kind of click into place.
Yep. So yeah, it's being held there, and then back here behind the ears, there's some self-adhesive Velcro, and the whole thing just clamps on. And it's the funny thing is, when you see behind the scenes stuff on Anthony Daniels, and they're putting him in C-3PO, especially some of those early, you see them clamping his head on the same exact way, in which the back half of the head is bigger and overlaps, and the front half comes in and it snaps together. In his case, I believe there's screws on the side that hold it together.
Yeah, now when I watch behind the scenes stuff for Star Wars and I see Anthony Daniels, I feel his pain. Because it's not a comfortable costume to wear. Thank God I'm not claustrophobic because, oh my God, you can only move your arms from like that, and you can't walk very fast. If you fall, you can't catch yourself, and like you only have dots to see through, so you can't see. I'm walking around in 4-inch tall glacial-like shoes, and it's just, it's not comfortable, but it's awesome.
And not like the top of those shoes are rigid plastic, so you don't get the range of motion, and you're also worried about, you're not only worried about breaking the costume, but you're also worried about the costume digging into your skin, or like how can I walk with the most comfort?
I get marks in certain areas, like in my tops of my feet and like here, like any place that digs in, I get marks after I kick it off. When you do a scout trooper, you know.
Yeah, I have a scout trooper armor, and I always get marks right around my chest, especially if I move around too much. Yeah. What else? Let's see. What about these parts?
Again, that was another creative liberty. What we call the,
I don't know if you guys can see them. The electro garters.
Electric garters, that's what we call them. Yeah. Again, that's creative liberty. In the movie, they're rigid and they're kind of just floating. So when her hips move, you see them like kind of floating.
Yeah.
They're attached to the leg and they're just gonna float there. Mine are made out of a soft material. They're made out of cloth.
Yeah, it's
rigid, but it's cloth. So those are magnets.
Yep.
They're attached by magnets so that they can't break.
Yeah, there's magnets inside the lower part of the torso, and then there's magnets inside the little. These are actually keyboard keys.
Yep.
That have
they look close enough.
Yep. There's a whole bunch of. It's funny how one thing copies another, and then you go back to the original. So this inspired a whole bunch of Star Wars stuff. But then making Star Wars costumes, you learn methods to put things together.
Right. I was taking pointers from a guy who in Orlando who did a C-3PO, and he, gave tips on, ways to make it a little more comfortable for you.
So, but yeah, so these little, the tops to the electro garters are just keyboard keys, but a lot of guys for their Boba Fett armor, they have the same kind of things on the top of their shoulder. When it comes to
keyboard keys, genius, thank you. It's simple. That's how we make stuff. It's just like his brain is amazing like that. Like he'll see. My first instinct is to, I gotta sculpt it. I gotta make it. And he's like, no, you can just use this. This is easy.
Yeah,
He sees something like when you made what was it? You made the the Riscom for Barbarella.
Oh yeah.
And what did you make that out of?
The Riscom for Barbarella that I made was I did do partly her method, in which it was a template, and it was a sheet of aluminum that I cut out the aluminum and then bent for the forearm. But then when it came to the fancy little thing that goes on the back of the hand that has the jewels in it, that's just the top of a Tropicana juice bottle. And then I just flipped it over and then sprinkled some glitter and some resin and then filled that up and then made a little dome over top of it.
Orange juice top.
Yeah, exactly.
It looked just like it.
Yep.
Yeah, his brain's brilliant like that.
I love repurposing, retasking, kit bashing.
Repurposing is our religion as well. Yeah.
Yep.
It makes, not only does it make it cheaper to make, but it just makes life so much easier.
So again, the Star Wars connection, besides this being the prototype or the proto concept look for C-3PO, it wears the same as Stormtrooper armor.
Yeah.
So when we're going to show a video in just a second.
Yeah, we're assuming everybody knows how you wear Stormtrooper armor.
Yeah. It's like when you get suited up in Stormtrooper armor, you do the legs first, and then you do the torso, and basically everything is kind of hung off the torso. So she ends up having to do the same thing. It's the thighs going first,
yep,
and then the torso goes in place, and it hangs on the shoulder, and it closes in. And then there's garters that go to the thighs that then attach the inside of the torso.
Yep.
And then from there, it's like, okay, now the garters are holding the thighs in place, and then everything else is hung off of that. The same thing with a Stormtrooper biceps go in and reach up into their shoulder, and then the shoulder's holding that part. Same thing here. Her biceps are held by the upper part. We're almost at the half-hour mark, so I think we're gonna do the suit up video and let you guys see what that looks like. It's a time lapse.
Yeah, let me play that for you. I'll play it a couple times during.
Yeah, we'll do it once
panel.
now and once at the very end. So in case somebody hops in.
I wish it was that fast to put it on. This is sped up, but the total time to get suited up is about 7 minutes.
So in that part of the video, when I say spin around, I'm not meaning for you to spin around to the camera. I'm meaning for you to just turn around so I can close the back.
I know. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Uh-oh.
There we go.
We got some questions.
Any issues flaking off with paint and stuff like that?
No, actually. The paint doesn't flake off. I gotta be careful with parts breaking off. Because like I said, you have such limited movement that, like, if I bend my wrist too much or if I bend my foot too much, then, like, parts will want to chip on things. And I've had problems with the feet chipping.
Yeah.
So
the parts that I can think of that where the shin comes down and meets the top of the foot, there's some rubbing there, so that the paint has rubbed off there. We've touched up the top of the feet. I think where the parts might rub against each other are the only places where I've seen any kind of paint wear, but it's all been on the lower half. And as far as repairs go, yeah, we've had to reinforce the feet a couple times. Or on the lower half, there's these little snap-like looking things. Do you have an image of the legs? There's these little snap-looking things that go down the inside of the legs. We've accidentally knocked them off before, but they're just cheap little piece of plastic. Can you bring up just like one of these, maybe? Yeah. So down on the lower portion of the leg, you have a whole bunch of little snaps or buttons, and I think we've knocked one or two of those off.
Sorry, I had it on pause.
Oh, okay, no problem. There we go, yeah. So yeah, it's mainly been on the lower half in which we've had to do repairs.
I don't know what's doing.
Please move this window away from the application. It's paused. You pause, hit resume. Okay. Now go down to one of your photos. There it is.
Still saying it's paused.
We'll figure it out. Just backtrack and close that stuff.
Okay. Stop share.
There you go.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, but so far it's been pretty easy to maintain. How many contests have you won wearing it? Or how many contests have you entered, and then what have you placed?
I think I've only entered 2, and I won Judge's Choice in one, and then I won second place in another.
Yeah.
But that was judged by 20-something years old, so I don't think they knew what Metropolis was and could fully appreciate it.
Yeah.
In fact, a lot of people, I actually don't get as many people recognizing it as much as you would think.
Yeah, we joke about that.
Yeah, we do. I get a lot of, oh, it's Gingerbin 3C3PO. Yeah. And a lot of people will just say, it's amazing, what is it? And we'll tell that he has to tell them because I can't really talk in the suit.
Yeah, exactly. Once she's suited up, I have to sit there and be Wrangler and kind of like move around her and, make sure people stay out of your way and stuff like that. But yeah. And that's made it funny sometimes, because sometimes she'll be standing completely still and then move a little bit, and then people standing around not paying attention will be like, oh my God, there's somebody inside that. So that's happened.
Yeah. Even though it's one costume, it takes multiple people to wear it. It's impossible to get suited up on my own. It's not something like you can do on your own. And even when I'm all in it, I need him there in case I fall or something. What is it?
What did we seal the pieces with to get a uniform
paint coverage?
Okay, so if you're still watching this, I just saw this Q&A come up. What did we seal the pieces with to get a uniform paint coverage, since it's made of all different materials?
Primer.
Well, yeah,
we primed the entire thing with a, I think it was latex paint or...
No, it's just the normal primer.
Primer.
The thing is, you're using the main plastic is a high impact styrene. And then a lot of the little pieces, like on the forearm and the detail pieces, are expanded PVC sheet. Even some of the other pieces are made out of, what is that, epoxy sculpt?
Yes.
Made out of epoxy sculpt. And the face is made out of resin. Well, we stayed within the spectrum of plastic. So when it came time to prime it, you find a primer that's going to work well with plastics. The other thing was some of the glue that might have been exposed. Most of the glue is just super glue, but some of the glue that might have been exposed or used like a weld, we use E6000, which that's of course paintable too. So everything right off the bat was already paintable.
Yeah, we didn't use any kind of rubbers or anything in the suit.
So we primed it, and then it's just off the shelf, a warm gold Krylon or Rust-Oleum, I think. I forget. Yeah. What else? But yeah, we saw more recently. This is a couple years ago now. We added a couple bits to her undersuit.
Is there anything I would do differently if you were to build it again? Yes.
Oh yeah.
That's what any costumes I make. It's like I'm not going to because this is a pain in the butt to make, but yeah, there's things I would make. I would make it a little bit more accurate to the movie because I see things that I'm like, when in comparison, it's like, it's not exactly like the movie, but
yeah, one of the things that I would, even though it's not going to help anything, one of the things that I would add to it is on the original robot's hands, there was these tool-like portions that jutted out from the fingertips, almost like when RoboCop goes in and he needs to look at the data files and his hand like folds open and the spike comes out. She has these little tool tips on a couple of her fingers, and I always thought it would be cool to add those. But
I think,
truth be told, if you store it, if you transport it, if you're walking around a convention, those things would be like the first thing in my mind to break.
oh yeah, I actually think, I could be mistaken, but I think in Martin Schultz-Middendorf's remake that he sculpted in the 70s, I think he put those on her fingers when he rebuilt the robot.
Okay.
If you could ask
who you just said.
Yeah.
What would you ask?
Oh my god. What wouldn't I ask him?
I think the better thing would be to travel back in time and actually watch him
watch
at the time
it.
of it being made.
Oh my god. I would just be like, preserve it. I would
Oh yeah.
Wouldn't I ask him?
Could you please preserve it? Put it in a question form, like, don't set it on fire.
I would ask him. God, what wouldn't I ask him? Yeah, I'd just be like, please don't destroy it. Don't let them destroy it. Make casts of it.
Yeah. Yeah. You would think for one of the most expensive movies made for its time that they would have made copies.
No, that was a time when they didn't preserve movie props. There was even a time where Prince Lang wanted to separate himself from it because he thought it as a silly little sci-fi movie. They had no idea, like, the impact and the masterpiece that they were making. And the robot, Walter Schultz Mittendorf, I hope I'm not butchering his name. I'm sorry if I am. But what he made was truly, truly a masterpiece. And there's almost a little bit of like embarrassment trying to replicate it because it's like trying to replicate the Mona Lisa. It can never truly be replicated.
Do you think that's why we've never seen a Metropolis reboot?
I hope so. I hope people leave it alone. I don't think anybody can improve upon it, and I don't think any robot could look as cool as that.
Yeah, true. And the trouble is, if they just simply try to duplicate the original one down to a T, then you get into the whole why did you even bother?
That.
Yeah, but it's like why even bother?
You could redo it with you can remake it with sound and everything like that. But I don't think you need to. I
cast Scarlett Johansson.
90% of the time, I despise remakes. Yeah. I like the Leprechaun remake.
Oh yeah, with the different little dude.
That was awesome.
Yeah. Any other questions? Anybody? We're here.
Yeah.
We can let you know how hot and sweaty it gets.
Also, a reminder, if you're enjoying this panel, please donate to the Motion Picture and Television Fund. It will help us out. So, yeah, please join us.
I'll put our own plug in here. So if you're just now joining, we're Simple Tricks and Nonsense. We have a YouTube channel, and it's just us basically showing the stuff that we make. We don't do this professionally. We're not costumers. We're not professional cosplayers, stuff like that.
Yeah, we're not being paid. It's all coming out of our own.
Yeah, we like to make the costume. We like the challenge. We like
Scott. Thank you. We're enjoying this. I'm glad you're enjoying it too.
We like the journey that making a costume takes us on.
Yeah.
And we like the challenge that comes from it, and we try to learn new things. And then that YouTube channel that I just said, Simple Tricks and Nonsense, that's just us getting a chance to show off our costumes. So you get a chance to check it out.
Simple Tricks and Nonsense kind of is. Obviously it's from Star Wars, but it describes what we do perfectly.
Yep. But yeah, there's our very first video is actually covering this costume. So much of what you've heard in this panel is in that video. Even that footage that we just showed of her getting dressed up, the original version of it is in that video. And if you'd like to watch that one, because it's set to the Benny Hill theme.
As somebody with negative crafting skills, it's a joy to see somebody do the robot justice. Thank you. Thank you. I'm very happy when people are happy with it.
Yeah, we also love robots too.
Yes, we have several robots that we have built.
Yeah, we have
Robbie's next.
That'd be
Robbie's next.
That's Metropolis is going to be way easier than any Robbie ever. We have a IG-88. We have Helper from the Venture Brothers. We have the Metropolis robot. I don't know. Like when we're in Walmart and they have the robot going up and down the aisle going beep beep.
I love
beep,
it.
beep,
that's my
beep,
favorite
beep, and it's
part
scanning
about
the inventory. I just want to like follow the robot around and like ask it
I
how
want
it's
to
doing.
talk to it.
Yeah.
We watched too much science fiction that we were like, go talk to it. Go talk to the robot.
Exactly.
So I'm trying to think of some frequently asked questions that we have.
I have some here.
Oh, nice.
You guys give me a second.
Yeah, we get regular questions.
Okay. Well, you already said how long did it take to make?
Yeah, it took
3
4
months.
months.
4 months. What's the longest you can wear it? What's the longest you've worn it?
The longest I've ever worn it was 3 hours, and that was at Dragon Con where I debuted it. And
Q&A. Here's one, or live one. What single tool did you use most often?
the Dremel. The Dremel, definitely.
Yeah, the rotary tool, hand tool, or
the
a
hand
Dremel.
sander. The hand sander.
Oh God, yeah, the sander.
Endless sanding. Making something like shiny, making something shiny and metal out of plastic. It's just like
you can kind of be perfectionist where you don't want blemishes in your final project. So what happens is
we're perfectionists. We both are.
To an extent. There's like a balance. But the thing is, I say this to her, I'm like, we want to treat it like a magic trick, where when you look at a costume, or you look at a prop, or you look at a display, a good magic trick, you don't know how it was done. You look at it and you're like, okay, did they use mirrors? Is that smoke? Did he hide the pigeon up his sleeve? What did they do? When it comes to costume or prop making, I want to look at it and I don't want to see like, oh, well, there's hot glue right there. Or, oh, well, there's the scene where those two pieces of armor meet and that's how it's being held together. Or, oh, there's a pop rivet on that and that's what's holding. If you can cover your tracks and you can treat it like a perfect magic illusion or something like that, then that's when I think it works well.
Right, and I think we succeed whenever somebody comes up to you and says, what is that made out of?
Yes. Yep. There's a ton of people that will walk up to her and literally like take their knuckles and like thump on the plastic to see what it's made of.
And then they jump back when I move.
Yep.
Like we said, people ask if there's a person in there.
Yep. What else? Any other questions out there? You can help feed us some ideas as to what to talk about. You've already covered most of these questions.
Did I? All our frequently asked questions?
Mm-hmm. What's here's a question, and this is something that people in the world should probably know, especially if you're in the South, because we're all the way down in Florida. What do you think about when it comes to storing a costume like this? If it's not on the mannequin like this, how do you store it?
In a bin. With like cloth in between it so nothing gets scratched up or anything.
Like a tote.
In a tote, yeah.
So a big
and
Tupperware
keep it
bin.
out of the hot areas. Don't put it in
the attic.
The attic.
Okay.
Yeah. Keep it in a cool area.
Different ways to hard coat and seal foam. Okay, so yeah, this guy's made out of, or this girl is made out of different kinds of plastic. It's not EVA foam or craft foam or neoprene, but you have your Plastidips. There's also, I know Krylon also has a product meant to spray over top of foam, including styrofoam, where it's an actual aerosol that doesn't eat the foam. There's this other stuff called Creature Cast, which I feel is basically just a latex, like a thin latex.
Like the same thing as the other stuff, the spray stuff. What is it called?
Plastidip.
Plastidip. I almost feel like it's a slightly better quality Plastidip.
But with the Creature Cast, you can brush it on. You can build it up in layers and whatnot.
Go ahead.
And another method is just straight casting latex. You can use casting. In fact, if you lean this way. So the leprechaun on the back, his ears are made out of EVA foam that have just been heat bent and shaped. And then we dipped it in a bucket of latex and just let that dry. And then that forms a very nice skin over top of your foam. And then you can apply your paints over top of that.
So we got another.
All right. Next question's up is, in the original, it seemed to me they either use a fine painted gauze as an undersuit or straight body paint. Why pick a black undersuit? Why not metallic? That's a good question. Is it just for contrast?
Yeah, for me, it was just to make it look a little more robotic. Yeah, it's not like a specific reason. But yeah, I covered that. I said that and
that would actually be kind of cool. That brings up a very good point. Is swap out the undersuit, swap out the unitard, and try to find an almost matching a gold or a bronze or something like that, and see how it looks.
I'll have to try it and see how it looks.
What the one upgrade we did do?
Yeah, she didn't. It didn't look like she was wearing anything underneath. When I was blowing up the pictures and looking at it, I'm like, it didn't look like she had anything on underneath it. So my mind just went to black to make it look like it's almost empty underneath certain areas of her. But no, I think a gold would be a great idea. I think I should try that.
We did do around the elbows, this area here. There's a material that Joanne's has now, and it's really good for stormtrooper armor for the neck seals, and especially for the First Order, where it's kind of a puffy faux leather ribbed material. Looks very mechanical. So we did that around the forearms.
Right. Yeah, just to make it look like it's mechanical. Yeah, I gotta try that. See how it looks. I might be happier with it gold.
We have some gold material. We could simply slip it between the joints and see how it's gonna be. I'd love to have that kind of puffy stuff with the lines and ridges in it in a gold.
A gold leotard, but it was so shiny and it stood out
too much,
and it was shinier than the dulled kind of gold that I used. So I was like, oh, that's distracting from the gold on the suit.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times I think I know we use black and other people use black simply to not draw attention to it. Most times when things are black, It's something to like push it back and not be in the forefront of what you're perceiving.
Right, and that was my thinking.
You know, it's like look
again.
at,
I also think C-3PO played a subconscious
yes, that's true.
influence in my head.
Yeah, because he did have a lot of black. He used black in those areas. Yeah.
I even like wanted to do wires like C-3PO did. Got another question. I first saw Metropolis on TV when I was 12 years old. What was your first time? I first saw Metropolis when I was, I think, 16 or 17, and it freaked me out. Not like in a scary way, well, kind of in a scary way, but yeah. I just remember when the robot came on, I was just like, oh my god. I was watching it with my brother, and I was just like, what is that? And I got freaked out at the scene where she's moving and you see her head kind of move, because I thought it was all one sculpture. So when her head moved, I was like, how did they do that? And I was just fascinated with it.
That was one of those
and me
movies
and my brother were just like, imagine this as a costume. So right away I was like, imagine this as a costume. And it took me forever. It wasn't until I got together with him that I was like, hey, well, let's do this, because we both wanted to do it, so we fed on each other's creativity, because I was afraid to do it by myself.
It's one of those movies where that one costume or that one prop or that one character becomes the big attraction.
Yeah,
there's several movies like that where when you think about a particular movie, even though the movie,
she's the standout star of it, even though she's not in it that much. She is
exactly
the star in it. As brilliant and amazing as the movie is.
Years ago, I talked with her. Nice. Wow. That would be really cool.
Years ago, I talked about it with a Hollywood effects guy who was convinced it was a stop motion. No person would fit inside. Yep.
That's, yeah. And that actually brings up another...
It's freaky, right? The way she moves in it. It's freaky.
That brings up another point. We've over the years, so made this in 2016, and since then people have stumbled across it either through photos or the video or whatnot. And another most frequently asked question is, will you make me one? Or can you make me that costume?
For like $5,000.
And it's not only the price because of the labor involved, but the thing is, people don't understand that everybody's body type is completely different. They have different heights, different builds,
oh, yeah, you mean,
different girths.
No, I'd have to start over like on somebody. It's got to be made for somebody's body. It can't just be, I can't just sell this to everybody.
Yeah, you would have to have the subject there. When you're dealing with rigid materials like that, you need the subject there to build around. You can't just, oh, here you go, and send it out.
I said this earlier. The original Walter Schultz Mittendorf, he had a plaster cast of Bridget Helm, and he sculpted over top of it, so it could only fit her. And she even told the director, she was like, why do I have to do this? Because she was so miserable, of course, understandably wearing it. And he was like, you're the only one that can fit in it.
A 3D printing seems to be the only way to produce. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and but even then, I would guess that, and this is something that's super cool to think about as they move forward in cinema, is that they take the principal actors and they do the 3D scans of them, or they do the high definition scans of them, so that in the future, if they need to de-age them, or if they need to do particular costume work, or if they need to implant them CG wise, they have those files. So what you're saying is absolutely true. You could take a 3D scan of a person and then have a few key points as measurement, and then you'll be able to scale and print a costume to that size.
Right.
Given if you didn't never gain weight or lose weight or anything like that.
Which happens. I had to grow the arms on
yeah, her biceps got too tight about 2 years after.
All the push-ups.
Because she's huge. She's like, I can't get the bicep on.
I got muscles.
So then on the backside, we had to crack it open and put a new seam hider and widen that up.
The robot shoulders seem to fit up high. Is it an unnatural raised position? No, that's the way it looked in the movie.
Yeah,
It's like,
it's
I don't know if it was intentional or not. That's one thing I would ask Mittendorf, is I would be like, was that intentional, or did it buckle on the actress, or all these things we look at and we think that's brilliant, that's beautiful. Was it for the genius? Was that a mistake? It's like,
well, but the thing is, in that case, that's a reoccurring theme, because with the top of the head, you have the head is overlapping, the back of the head is overlapping the front, and you have that gap. And then when it comes to the back is overlapping the front, and those two gaps are almost parallel in spacing. Whether that's intentional, I don't know, but I know a lot of times when you make two-part body molds,
right,
there can be shifting, or they can get misaligned. Like when you try to put things back together, especially something that big, and so, you know, if somebody was standing that whole time, you're going to get a misalignment.
Yeah.
But that's a good point. I always thought it was kind of weird that they sat really high, and then when we were looking at the photos and we were trying to figure out, well, what is this part and what is that part, and then one of the theories we had was those little parts that up of the shoulder, it looks like little pieces of metal, one here and one here, or one here and one here. It almost looked like they use those to attach the front half and the back half together. Like it was almost like threaded through with a chunk of metal, like a piece of wire.
Right. Well, we're getting close on time. We only have a few minutes left. If you guys have any more questions, we would be happy to answer them.
Yeah, and I appreciate you, anybody who's watching right now. Thanks for coming out.
Yes. And again, if you're enjoying this panel, I'm going to plug it again. Please donate to the Motion Pictures and Television Fund. That would be awesome.
What else? So what's another robot that you would do?
Like Robbie.
And even though we dislike the sequel trilogy from Star Wars, Maz's robot that she had, which already looks,
that looks just like her, it would be the same outfit.
It's I believe she's called ME8D9.
Thank you.
That's one I would do.
Yeah,
she looks super cool.
Great job, and you both.
Thank you.
Thank you
awesome.
very much. Well, I think
we're gonna play the video one last time. Go ahead and do it.
All right.
Anyway, we're gonna take you out with the suit up video, guys. I'll let her go through all her stuff here.
I need to reopen it. Sorry.
No problem. She's queuing it up.
I closed it. I'm sorry.
Now you gotta share the files. All right, here we go, guys.
Thank you guys for watching.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
This has been really fun. It went by really fast.
Stop it short as soon as you're fully in it.
Oh, she said it'll run. That's why if you want it, but it stopped the online.
say our goodbyes.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
All right, thanks, guys. I really appreciate everybody being here.
Thank you guys for having us. It's been awesome. Thank you, Monsterama. Oh, we got some more questions.
Oh, we got 3 more questions. All right. Let's see. Whatever dare tackle throne. Oh, would you dare tackle the throne in a glass catwalk? Oh yes, we like if we had enough room in a house or in this display, I'd love to have the pentagram on the wall and the chair and all that stuff. That'd be super cool. Next question is, how tall are you?
I'm 4'11". I'm 4'10". I lied. I'm 4'10".
Also, the original alignment of the legs is uncannily consistent. I always wonder how WMS hit that one. It just, some people have a good eye.
Yeah.
Some people have a good eye. It's that they're able to look at things and continue a straight line without screwing things up.
I know. He was a genius. That you could just make something like that on the spot. I mean, think about how many things were inspired by her.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I see her in every robot almost, you know?
Yeah,
Since then,
yeah. Bicentennial Man,
what
RoboCop,
was he inspired by?
C-3PO.
You know, he didn't have...
Exactly,
He was the first
exactly.
robot
So in like
cinema,
1926, 27?
When he was making it, it's like,
yeah.
He was genius.
All right. Well, take care, everybody.
Yeah, thank you all for joining us.
Have a good Halloween.
Peace and a bid. Thank you to Rebecca and John for taking the time and sharing the art with us. You're very welcome. Thank you all for joining us. This has been awesome.
Thank you so much, guys. Y'all take care.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.